Back to the rundown. The conversations surrounding guns and race and security in America are now in the 2016 presidential campaign. Candidates are calling the massacre a tragedy, sending their prayers to Charleston, but many policy analysts doubt any significant legislative reform will come out of Wednesday's shooting. While in Las Vegas, Hillary Clinton began a speech with another infamous U.S. church attack.
More than 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told the families of the girls killed in the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, "You do not walk alone." Today we say to the families of Mother Emanuel and to all the people of Charleston, you do not walk alone. You do not walk alone because millions of Americans, regardless of race or creed or ethnicity or religion, are walking with you.
Joining me now, as he does most Fridays, NBC News political director and moderator of Meet the Press, Chuck Todd. Chuck, good morning.
Good morning, Jose.
So Hillary Clinton, certainly the most forceful reaction among the 2016 candidates, but you don't really see Republican or Democrat really going to make this issue of guns a central one, or do you?
Well, is it a gun debate? Is it a race debate? Is it both?
Right.
I mean, look, I would also say that you're right. I don't know where this goes. The Democratic Party collectively has struggled to, frankly, unite and coalesce on the gun issue. What are they willing to do? You hear, the president will speak out every once in a while, but after his high-profile defeat in the wake of the Sandy Hook tragedy, he seems to have admitted defeat on that. And I think part of it is that the Democratic Party isn't totally ready to championing the issue and saying, okay, do we need to have that larger conversation? I think that there really isn't there's probably more of a bipartisan consensus on, okay, the gun debate is settled. The question now, is it a morality debate? The race debate is a whole separate story. I mean, the fact of the matter is, over the last 2 years, I think it's pretty clear that after 30 years of sweeping yes, there's been progress in race relations in this country, but at the same time, setbacks have been swept under the rug. I think over the last couple of years, there has been, whether society is ready for it or not, a decision to say, you know what, let's lift the rug up and stop this and let's have a more honest, authentic discussion. Look, I think part of it is that's what campaign debates are about. I think the fact that you've had two high-profile tragedies in the state of South Carolina, an early primary state, forces the conversation to happen, whether it's the issue of law enforcement and their relationship with the African-American community, or the culture of sort of self-segregation that is still so prevalent, I think, in the South, which I think, frankly, and it's not just in the South, self-segregation is happening a lot, more on, not just on race these days, sometimes on ideology, but that self-segregation allows the opportunity for hate to foment among maybe some weak-minded folks. So you ask yourself, is there the larger cultural conversation that the next leader of the free world is willing to have a discussion about?
Yeah. And there's also, of course, the issue of mental health. And are we focusing enough on dealing with people who have problems and who may not be getting any kind of help?
Yeah, this was a hate crime.
No doubt.
And that in itself, obviously, I think it's mentally ill to be as racist as this man was or is. But don't do the mental health debate to replace the race debate. I don't think that would be one. All of it should be out there in this discussion. Don't have the mental health debate in order to sweep aside the tougher discussion about race.
Correct. And by the way, and let's moving on to another issue, the ongoing debate over these trade bills. I mean, Hillary Clinton now says she would be a no vote on fast track.
Well, and yet she's trying to have it both ways. She's saying she'd be a no vote on this specific piece of legislation that's in the United States Senate right now. But she's also trying to say that she would generally perhaps be in favor of fast track if all the other issues are agreed to. So, look, I think she's in a real box here. The party's in one place. The base of the party is in one place. Labor's in one place. But I think in her heart of hearts, I believe Secretary Clinton, the person who was Secretary of State, who was trumpeting these trade agreements, who was pushing these trade agreements, calling TPP the gold standard of trade agreements. So I think that she risks looking like she's trying to have it both ways, almost a little too cute here, depending on the outcome.
And what are we going to see on Meet the Press Sunday?
Well, look, we're going to talk more about Charleston, as you have, Jim Clyburn, among some other South Carolina guests. I'll have Governor Mike Huckabee on to talk about, as we know, the Pope, basically the issue of religion and politics, the intersection of these debates. And then I have a very powerful segment on gun violence from the point of view of men serving life sentences for violence they committed with guns. And what they would say to their younger selves today. It's just trust me, it's worth watching.
Look, Meet the Press is worth watching every Sunday, especially
Thank
this
you,
Sunday.
Jose.
Chuck, thanks, buddy.
You got it.
And you can see Chuck this and every Sunday morning on Meet the Press. Check your local listings. And, of course, if you want to see in Espanol, you can watch Enfoque, noon, 11 Central on Telemundo. We're learning